Okay, lovely. So yes, we'd just like to welcome Anton. Yeah, if you could introduce yourself, really, I think would be best.
Hey, thank you. Well, I'm an architect turned entrepreneur, and I kind of began my career very much kind of working in tech, being a freelancer, jumping between different projects. But it kind of things started to kind of focus in when I got an opportunity to stay at a collective house in Oakland, in San Francisco, called Open Door, and the house was called the Canopy. And I got my first taste of community living. And the house had been designed and curated and was run by the very people that were living there. And so it was a self-run community with artists, entrepreneurs, people from the Bay Area, and I really loved that way of life. And so I had an opportunity to move to Sweden to help open a co-living from the ground up, and that was called K9 Co-living, and that's where I met my wife. And that began kind of took me on a journey to reconnect my architectural roots and look much deeper into real estate, property, co-housing, co-living. Um, and I got an opportunity to work with lots of large developers who were doing mixed use development, which is kind of commercial, residential, retail, and trying to create places and neighborhoods that really kind of respond to sustainability and create a sense of place and community. And then eventually my kind of through 2.5 years in Sweden ended, moved back to London, was working also in real estate a bit more as a consultant on a few deals, and then COVID happened, and that was really an opportunity to kind of accelerate a lot of the things, well, decelerate all of my consulting work and all my projects because they all froze. But it gave me time to launch House of Transformation, which was an office that I turned into an event space right above where we used to live in East London, in Haggerston. And that's been going really well. It kind of came out of my research. And then I also helped launch Rebuild, which is a kind of a bit like EcoVillage network, but just a little bit more, I guess, new age, you could say. Well, we were just trying to convene people doing land-based regeneration projects, whether it be co-housing villages or land restoration. We wanted to kind of get everyone to present their projects and share their learning online. And so we did that in 2021. You know, 700 people joined. We had 100 recorded sessions, and then since then, events have been kind of running a bit spontaneously, depending on who wants to lead what and where. And we've done one in Netherlands, two in Portugal, one in Costa Rica, kind of larger gatherings of 100 people plus, all around these kind of questions around how do we build villages for this kind of new generation that's coming through. And I think that one of the things that I wanted to kind of, I've always kind of wanted, was to bring an event back in this style, in this spirit, to the UK. But I wanted to add this arts layer. I wanted to call it slightly different. And so after hosting Rebuild Netherlands last year, on the train to Amsterdam, I was thinking, okay, what should the UK one be? And I wrote down the word enchanted, and I sketched out a little logo, and I thought, yeah, you know, let's see where we can go with this name, this concept of stepping into an enchanted village and exploring different ways of living and co-creating together. And so what ended up happening was last year I kind of shared the enchanted concept with a few people, and then I started hunting for venues, locations where we could host this event, this first Rebuild UK, and looked at many places. Nothing was quite right. And then off the back of a consulting project, someone just mentioned Selgar's mill, and I was like, what is this? And so I Googled it, realized that they were running an event, got in touch, and really fell in love with the place. And we signed up as an event partner because at the time there was another organization that was running and holding the leasehold for the property and running the venue. So I thought, okay, well, we'll just sign up to do a few retreats and events next year, and at least we can kind of get the ball rolling with Enchanted. And that was kind of all going really well. And then at the end of November, I got a call from the organization saying, "Oh, we're closing down." And initially, I was like, damn, we have to start finding another venue. This place was just perfect for it." But then I remembered that I'd met the caretaker who was responsible for kind of running the day-to-day of the site, and got in touch with the owner, put together a website as part of the pitch. So I had already filmed a lot of drone footage in the autumn, taken lots of photographs, and so it was kind of almost ready to go. And in a weekend, I put the website together and also put together a business plan and said to the owner, "Yeah, give us a lease, 2-year lease with an option to buy at a fair market valuation, and let us take this over, because otherwise you're stuck with an empty property that you have to, it's going to be expensive to kind of keep running, and it's just going to be a headache." And so he agreed. So he gave us the lease and the option to buy, and then it was all systems go. So I kind of launched a few mail outs before the end of the year, and kind of organized a few friends and friends of friends to come for New Year's Eve, and took a friend of mine rented a minibus for us, and then we took as much stuff as we could from House of Transformation, our apartment, and took it to Selgar's on the 29th of December. And then it's been nonstop ever since. You know, kind of one of the first things I realized was that the whole estate was so beautiful, but it lacked one big temple space, one big space where everyone can gather in a circle indoors, so one space where you could allow lots of light in. And there was this really, really big and spacious barn, but most of it was just filled with junk. And so what I knew that if we could fix this barn, then suddenly it would change the whole marketability of the site, but also the way that we can host larger groups and festivals, and it could become, our temple space. And so, on the New Year's Eve, with a few lads who live on a nearby in a traveler community, we cleared out the barn 5 hours non-stop, and then we hired the local builders to level the floor, put acrylic glazing on the south-facing facade, and now this whole space has come to life, and we're just finishing now. And we've also done drainage and landscaping and fixed lots of stuff, and really got the place ready for the event season, which will start after Easter. But in the meantime, what's been wonderful is so many people have just come and visited for some co-living and co-working, and it's been so fun. I literally every day this year has been a communal meal. I have not one evening eaten just by myself. Lunches is a little bit different, but every dinner has been shared, which is, I've never had that experience before. And I've also had this wonderful balance of being in my body and being in my head. Quick fire emails, presentations, calls, but then when the sun is shining, you're out on the land getting something useful done, or kind of reflecting on how to kind of manage the builders on the building site, and to paint a door, to clean things up, a lot of moving, because there was a lot of junk left behind when we arrived, especially in the barn, and then just kind of taking all the paintings, all the little bits and bobs that we gathered over the years, and making this place a home. And so we've had over, probably 30, 40 guests in the first month. We've had over 120 inquiries, about 20 bookings. We've filled out for most of the summer, and we're just getting started. And the vision of the place is, first of all, to run a successful venue, to exercise the options so that we can own the place. And then there's a wonderful northern woodland, and also a neighbor that owns quite a bit of land around us. We could build a village, we could build a co-housing, we could extend the eco resort that we have. And I always felt that the best way to begin is not to spend 10 years going through planning applications and, you know, traditional development, but to find a property and an asset that's ready to go, and then do these small little investments, you know, in terms of tweaking the barn, buying glamping accommodation, putting drainage in so you can have more comfortable camping, and then kind of start to explore what we can do on a bigger picture when it comes to co-housing, planning permission, more kind of larger infrastructure. But at least we can hit the ground running. We have 2 years for people to come, fall in love with the place. And that's also a big role that Enchanted is going to play, because it's going to be a great convening opportunity. And yeah, and so all these pieces are kind of finally kind of coming together. And we have this kind of unconference gathering focused on what it means to be regenerative and how we build regenerative futures together on the 6th to the 9th of July. And lots of other little things that we're doing. And it's just been so much fun to actually do it. You know, for many years, I've just researched and given a few talks, done a few sketches, lots of situations where we found somewhere, but it wasn't quite right. And we thought about it and then it didn't happen. But it's amazing how quickly everything has come together. And when you know, and you just have to go for it 100%, 110%. And so yeah, I think we're accomplishing a lot with a small team. And I don't think these places need big teams. I think actually the leaner, more affordable you can be, the better. And then it's just, you know, Rome isn't built in a day. You know, you just have to do step by step. You know, 5 things that improve the land and the buildings. You know, 5 emails that you send, 5 phone calls, and I have experience with venue management and online marketing, and so that's critical. You know, it's so important to hit the ground running, bring in revenues, and to really understand the seasons, because you won't have time to do drainage in the summer, you know, and it'll be filled with people and you'll be hosting. And so you really need to maximize what you can do in the winter to then build momentum for the next year. And it's such a seasonal lifestyle when you're out in the countryside. And I think, yeah, it's so much fun to also bridge the connection between the city and the countryside. And that's something that we're doing with House of Transformation. And I'm a Londoner through and through, you know, it's where I spent most of my life. But I see the importance of having that nature connection. So yeah, so I'll stop rambling on because it's late, and I tend to do that when I'm tired. But I just wanted to share screen just to give you guys a sense of what I've just explained. So this is House of Transformation. This is the space that we took over. It was a bit of a dumping ground and lots of cobwebs and cheap furniture, and we just filled it. Plants, paintings, biophilic tables, and had this projector screen and stage. And everything was built out of plywood boxes, and we all kind of built it together in 2 or 3 days. And there's like a little house up there, and then you have can do long table dinners with smart lights. You can go upstairs, and these can be bedrooms, but they can also be little nooks. And yeah, that's House of Transformation. And of course, we have Selgar's estate, and this is a drone shot that I took in the autumn, and it just kind of captures how beautiful. It's got solar panels, there's biomass boiler connection, there's this wonderful, we're surrounded by water because it's an old mill, and we can hear water when we're in the lower 2 floors flowing through the building, which is lovely. And then yeah, there's all these secluded fields, woods, a veg garden that used to be a tennis court, and this is the barn that we've been renovating. And then this is the camping field where we've added some drainage and some paths. And yeah, it's a lovely place to be. There's mill cottages, a little wagon hidden away. And it's just a really, really beautiful site that's just kind of ready to go. This is another nice little graphic that kind of shows where everything is. We can put some houseboats on the mill pond in time, or we can create art in the art forest, lots of fire circles all around the site. We're adding bell tents. We're rebuilding some showers next to the veg garden barn. And yeah, and we hope, and then there's a whole northern woodland and extra fields where we can expand to as well. And so there's real potential. And Enchanted is really our invitation for people that are interested in this project, but also in the theme of building regenerative villages and creating regenerative futures, to come and play with us. It's going to be 150 people, different cultures, backgrounds, industries, and yeah, and we're starting to create the program. It's coming together really nicely. We've got all these different facilitators already on board, and this is the program. We'll have a few days of pre-build with a smaller group. Then people will arrive and have an experience of arrival, opening ceremony, dinner, and then live music and mingle. And then we have a check-in with everyone at the start of the day after breakfast. And then we have the workshop series with community playtime, where it's, people can suggest workshops in the moment. But the workshop series will be pre-curated workshops with participants and speakers. And then on the Friday evening, we'll do storytelling in the barn, and then break out into sharing circles, and then a movement medicine dance on the Saturday evening, and then slow brunch, closing ceremony, sunset walk. So lots of spaciousness for people to connect, but also actually get stuck in with fun workshops related to Selgars, but also a really great roundtable dialogues from the kind of how do we finance at a kind of systemic level regenerative agriculture and food production, through to co-housing, self-build, DeFi, refi, DAO, all of these things. And so yeah, we got lovely catering partners, a wonderful organization called Regions Unite, who are helping us to organize this event and facilitate the workshops and really make them as interactive and fun as possible. And so yeah, help us spread the word. It's going to be hosted on the 6th to the 9th of July, and it would be a great way to get to know who we are, what we're up to, and be part of shaping the future of Selgars as well. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share. This is where we're at, and it's been so much fun to just give 100% every day, and then just collapse into bed after a lovely bath, and then go again the next morning. And I think, yeah, there's something very special that comes when you can really start to build things and make things happen in the countryside. It's a really, really beautiful thing. Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much. That was really informative and really inspiring. But thought it'd be nice, if that's all right, maybe to open with any questions that anybody has. You can put it in the chat and I can read them out, or you can unmute your microphone. Just give them a moment to do that. Linda, did you have a question?
I do. I have a burning question. I've looked at your website and I've seen you, question mark. Are you accepting volunteers for the event between the 6th and the 9th of July? Is there anything that you are needing to be added in that might be able to transfer or trade for against the cost of accommodation at all?
Yeah.
I also
of course, and I
yeah.
think that we,
and should I
yeah, the best thing to do is just to get in touch with me. My email is anton at hotspaces.org. And then what we have is we have a ticket price. It's around £300 early bird for the event, and then there's DIY camping, or there's glamping, or you can find an Airbnb nearby, or there is the accommodation that we have. And so we keep the accommodation separate from the ticket, because it's just so many options that it's so difficult. Otherwise, you have a list of 10 different prices for one ticket. So so I think the best thing would be just get in touch. I can give you a volunteer code that gives you a discount on the ticket, and then we can figure it out. But yeah, we'll for sure need some volunteers, definitely during the 6th to the 10th, the 9th, when everyone arrives. Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you.
And how many people have you got living there now? How many of you are living together now?
Well, we have capacity for 30 if we really push all of the bed spaces and have the optimal number of couples and singles sharing rooms. But we have about 8 people now. And then it fluxes between, sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 20, and people kind of come and go. Some are staying kind of long term for a month, some are dropping in. So there's a kind of a real mix. And yeah, and bear in mind that we really only announced this place in mid-December, so it's great that people have come and people are dropping in and out, and so that we can make some income, but more importantly that we just have the energy of having people around. It's a big house with lots of rooms, so it's really fun to share it with others.
Yeah, it's a big project, is it? Did you have another question, did you, Linda?
No, I just thought it looked absolutely beautiful. I was also, well, I did actually, yeah, thinking about it. The people that were there originally, so what happened? Why did that not take off? Or are they retiring? Or
well,
was
they
it
weren't able
COVID,
to make it work financially, and maybe they didn't have the right skills to be able to make it work financially. And I think COVID wasn't great, and I think they were marketing to a customer group and audience that just couldn't afford the place, and so they didn't feel that they could afford to go through the winter, and so they stepped away. And it's true, it's very, very expensive to heat during the winter, and the place doesn't require a certain level of investment in the barn and other infrastructure to make it rentable for larger groups. And it's important to have that balance of weddings, retreats, family holidays, and also just to, I think they weren't able to get the sales quickly enough to be able to break even and to continue the project. But yeah, that's been my main focus, is to hit the ground running, make sure that we're out there, make sure that more money is going in than going out, so that we can be in a position to buy the property in a couple of years.
It's always a hard question with these kind of projects, isn't it? It's whether to you can start off with just the land, which is generally cheaper, and then start building from there with a long planning process, like you were saying, or you buy the land with already something on there again, but that just hikes the price up so much. But then you can get in there really quickly. So
and you can start generating income, which you can borrow against with the banks. And I think that the key is always spotting where there is potential, and where a property is undervalued because it's not being run in a certain way, and then you can bring your skills and networks into the picture. And I think that's worked really well. I think there's it's so important to be clear on your criteria of what is important to you. And for me, it was walking distance to a mainline train station where I can get into London. It needed to have by walking distance, I mean half an hour to 40 minutes. But already that's quite special and quite unique that it's that close. And also that it had a level of aesthetics and natural beauty, and it could host enough people to really create, to be a ready-to-go venue, so that we're not stuck, many years trying to run a building site for 2 years, but that actually we can come in, do things fast, and then really demonstrate that and just get people here. I think that's so important. Yes, Martin says, it's a lovely walk as well, because you go straight off the train platform, and rather than crossing the bridge into the main exit, you go on this little sidewalk, which is kind of along the railway, and then you hop over the bridge, and then you weave through some side roads. Okay, admittedly, there's a small little bit next to a main road, but you hop over that across a crossing, and there's a nice sidewalk, and then you're there. That's wonderful. And it's, if you really gun it on your bike, you can get there just under 10 minutes. And it's just awesome, and that makes the whole place just way more accessible. And we've also been doing lots of dog walks, and actually it's for countryside, it's really walkable. There's a hipster cafe, orangerie, where we can get our flat white and our brownies and look at the sunset. There's lots of, we're not in the middle of nowhere, and that's been wonderful. The entrance appears on a cycle route too. Awesome. Well, that's even better. But no, it's I think location is important, but also it's the way that you present the venue, it's the vision that you put together, and I think you got to move fast. I think that it's really important in a project like this to build momentum and to keep momentum, and make sure that you get revenues to the door. It's so often, you sit down and you lose months and months and months trying to do stakeholder engagement and get everything a collective process of how do we make decisions and so forth. And that's important, but actually that can almost be done at a later stage. There are fundamentals that there's foundations that need to be built before you can create the structure of the house and the furniture and the decorations. And there's fundamentals around the infrastructure of the property, getting it cash positive, and being at a point of financial resilience. That means that it's easier to make decisions quickly because there's a venue running phase, and then there is a village building journey. And I think that the two need to go hand in hand so that you're not stuck with a really tough financial situation, because so many nature properties, and I've consulted with a few, they lose money like crazy. They employ too many staff. There's all the bills. They don't get their pricing right, all those things. And I think, it's really important to try and not do too many things too soon. And to the worst thing is an empty space, right? Like you put all this money, you have all this space, and no one's here. And so it's really important to get the word out. And that's part of why these events like Enchanted, but also these the co-living, is it's a great way to just get people here and start that process. Because it's the end goal of a village is takes a lot of steps to get to, and I think that what I realized was that whole process of buying land and going through planning and so forth is just too slow and very risky. But finding a property, agreeing a lease with an option to buy, so that you then have time to come in, that even if you can't buy it, you can still extend the lease, or you can run a really profitable place and still make your money back and have the experience of doing that. So I think there's a lot of places out there that that might be open to that deal with that structure. That means that you can really host people in the right way from day one. And I think that's something that I was searching for, but I didn't expect it would come so soon. But yeah.
Yeah, and you've got a balance of that and the potential for the future to have,
Exactly.
Once that's full, to build a bit more. What would be your vision for wider? Would it be like tiny homes, or would it be something?
Yeah, I mean,
I
think it could be a mix. Easy to do tiny home lodges, and people can just have a share in a second home that they've helped build, and that could work well as an extension of the ecotourism that we're offering. What would be a bit trickier, but also possible, is to actually do a full planning application for an ecological co-housing scheme with amenity spaces, learning center, this type of thing. But that we'll see. It really depends. I think there's the slightly more bottom-up way, which is the tiny houses and the you know, trying to push the permitted development rights as far as possible. But then there's the more formal planning application route and so forth. And I think that probably we'll try, we won't rush, because we can add lots of cabins and wagons on our 4 acres of event space that's south of the mill, but north of the mill is kind of separated by the lake. And then that's where we can really look to do something a bit more long term. We'll only look at that site once we've bought the property, and then we will then turn it into a development site, and try and find that balance between respecting the ecology there, but it's just been, the problem is that the trees have been planted in a very thoughtless way, too close together. So there's a lot of coppicing, there's a lot of thinking to do around how that woodland is really managed. And then the neighbors, you know, can we inspire the neighbors to think about rewilding, regenerative agriculture, ecotourism, land diversification, and that is also exciting, but will take time, right? I think the more successful we can demonstrate our venue is, the more we can bring great people to Selgar and to this part of Tiverton, the more that will then build a case study and a proof of concept, and will encourage a different type of conversation with planners and also with local landowners. So I think it's, you know, really demonstrating that you can, it's not just an idealistic dream, but you can really deliver on your business model, and include, where possible, local people in the process of the events and the projects that we do. So yeah, it's I think all about figuring out what is the right sequence of steps, because you can't build an eco-village all at once, and sometimes a master plan is the worst thing you can do. You know, get lots of expensive architects to dream up something that is very conceptual, and then you're stuck because no one's gonna pay for it to be built, and you don't know if it's even right. And it looks pretty, but then at the same time it's very expensive. But actually, if you go step by step, work with local builders, work with local materials, you know, and before you know it, actually you realize that actually you end up with something even more beautiful than what that architectural render had in the first place. And so I kind of really love this idea of finding and improving what already exists rather than trying to build from scratch. I think that's really grown on me, and yeah, that idea.
It gives you the chance to really get to know the site, and the site to get to know you, I guess, as well, isn't it?
Oh yeah, you build
over
such a relationship. It becomes a part of you. You know, all the elements, all the ingredients. You care. You want to pick up litter. You want to, you know, you name the trees. You really form a relationship to the place. And that's so beautiful. It's something that I think you don't get when you just go on a retreat or a hotel or a spa in nature. You know, and that's the thing about Selgar, is we want it to be about art and creativity, and actually build something, leave a better trace, but learn about the vision of what we could build here. And I think the ability to create on the land is very exciting, and not too many places allow for that, which I think is a shame. So yeah.
And you mentioned the dog walking before. We got a question here. How many dogs do you have living there with you?
Well, we have our dog Zuko, and that's the only dog right now. But other dogs have come to visit, so that's been fun.
Oh, lovely. And has anybody else got any questions at all? To give a chance if anyone else got any. You covered everything pretty well, really. Up to the point of coming to the event, of course, in July. Also asked, I see you have yoga with Adrienne. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right.
I mean, this would be my wife Morgan that leads that. I have not done any yoga here, but we have a lovely little nook in our living room where yoga mats can be set up and maybe some photos were taken. But there's also the barn where you could play that. I mean, there's so many little spots where you can do yoga in winter and summer. So yeah, but it's not something that I'm doing right now. There's just too much work on the land. We have this concept called green gym, where rather than going to a gym, you do a useful project on the land, and you get exercise. You know, whether it's moving stuff, cleaning stuff, picking up rocks, building a gate to our veg garden, putting flooring, taking Zuko for a walk. You know, there's so much to do, and so many fun tasks and activities. And that's the great thing, is that, you know, it's your entertainment is not going out and consuming. It's making something, it's building something, it's going out and observing what's around and making it a little bit better. And yeah, I think that's been so much fun. You know, it's and then of course, yeah, there's movie nights, and you know, we had crepes and we watched Biggest Little Farm yesterday, which was lovely. And yeah, and it's just we want to try and make this place feel as much of a home as possible, and rather than a hotel. So yeah,
it has opportunity to do that. You know, if people do yoga or meditation, if you're co-living in the same place.
oh yeah, and
You've
there's
got
so
that
many little spots
opportunity.
everywhere, inside, outside, everywhere.
Okay, yeah, brilliant. I'm just thinking if I've got any other questions, or again, if anybody else got any more questions, let me know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's in March and April, we don't have that many bookings. So there's I've set up something called Facilitator Jam, just inviting people that work with organizations and are interested in hosting team building retreats at Selgars, or kind of just having some nature connection time and working on a book project or a facilitation concept, that they can just come down, pay really affordable rates, and just come co-live. And I think that's the beauty, is that when we're not booked, we're not stressed running around trying to get anyone in. We just say, hey, who wants to come down? £50 a night. We all chip in for food and cook together. That's really nice.
Yeah, that sounds great. And have you got to know the local residents in the area yet?
Yeah. I keep walking around meeting. I mean, we hired our neighbors to do the barn renovation, so that's a good way to make friends. You know, give them lots of money. But no, they've done a great job, and I would have paid a lot more if it wasn't, if they weren't nearby and had the time and skills. So that's good. And then yeah, I keep bumping into people, keep getting their WhatsApp and messaging them. Some are more responsive than others, I think. But yeah, it's true that, you know, being a Londoner, I kind of operate at the speed of you know, factor of 2 or 3 or 4 times faster than most people in the countryside. But that's fine. I think that's exciting, because we can have that exchange. But yeah, I think we've got good local food suppliers that we're kind of starting to discover. Good forest fungi for mushrooms, discovering lots of places to get eggs. I still need to find a good bakery, although some of our co-livers are baking bread now, which is great. But yeah, I mean, I think that's still something that will come with time. I think that there's just been so much to focus on in the immediate proximity of the site and the area. I haven't had too much of a chance to explore, but that will come. You know, I think it's so important to go explore the area, and I think that's probably in March and April I'll have more time to do that.
Again, like you said, it's like step by step. It sounds like you're making amazing progress so quickly already. Lots and lots of steps, really. So what's the best way did you say for people to be kept
Yeah.
informed? There was.
Yeah, I mean, sign up to the mailing list on Selgar's, but also spread the word about Enchanted. Buy a ticket. You get 10% off if you use the discount code Selgar's Magic. No, sorry, that's not the right one. Is it? It might be. I think it is. And then here's the link to the event, and yeah, it's going to be really fun and really special. And I imagine a lot of you live quite locally. You're closer to Selgars than a lot of our friends in London. And yeah, if you're interested in these topics, then come join us.
Brilliant. Yeah, so I think that's lovely for now. I think more and more is going to be revealed in the event itself,
Exactly.
and future events we'll look out for as well. And yeah, had some feedback there and inspiring. Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. There's just so many different ways to do this, and it's really great to hear of your way and your successes
Brilliant.
and your plans. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Great. Have a good evening. Bye.
Lovely. Oh, thank you everyone for coming.